Hello everyone and welcome to part 18 of our F1 22 driver career mode here for Williams for round 8 of season 2 at the Portuguese Grand Prix. Last time out in USA at Cota we had a very nice P5 finish, but even more of a surprise was Fernando Alonso winning the race for Alpine ahead of Lando Norris in second place for McLaren. That's Alpine's second win for the season, Esteban Ocon winning at Monza earlier on in the season. So very good season so far for those guys, and it is very clear that the midfield is closing up to the front teams. So Max Verstappen leads the Drivers' Championship ahead of Charles Leclerc. At the moment for ourselves, we're down in P10, bit of a gap either side of us, not looking to move up or down this round in Portugal. In terms of the constructors, we're also sitting in P6, which is a very good spot for Williams in this second season. In terms of the car performance pecking order, Ferrari have slightly closed up to Red Bull. Those two teams very much the top dogs at the moment in Formula 1, and then the whole rest of the midfield is very close. Aston Martin sort of starting to become their own backmarker team, which is a bit of a shame to see for those guys, but that is just sort of the way it's playing out with the way they are not really bringing a whole lot of upgrades over the course of the season. For Portimao, though, it is looking to be a very dry and very sunny Grand Prix. It's a track that I tend to be half decent at, not the best, but also not too bad. And so hopefully we can make the most of any opportunities that may come our way and score ourselves some more decent points in heading into the last 3 rounds of the season. Obviously trying to prove our worth to Mercedes to potentially get a promotion to that top team in Season 3. Obviously, we've had a pretty impressive season so far here in Season 2 with some really good point scoring finishes, making the most of others' mistakes and getting ourselves further up the field. But yeah, let's get to the grid rundown now for the Portuguese Grand Prix.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Perez, Charles Leclerc and Ricciardo, Sainz, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso and Benjamin, Ocon, Albon, Kevin Magnussen and Gasly, Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel and Guan Yu Zhou, Stroll and Nicholas Latifi. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
So here we are lining up in P10 for the Portuguese Grand Prix. A good qualifying from ourselves, getting ourselves in the top half of the field. Obviously Albon also not too bad in P12 behind us. He's actually starting on the medium tyres, whereas the rest, or most of the field at least, are starting on the soft compound tyre, which is something you don't actually normally see in the strategy in this game. Portugal seeming to be a little bit of a one-off track where starting on the softs and going to the hard is a viable strategy. So it'll be interesting to see how Albon's strategy plays out differently to the rest of the field as we make sure to get in our grid spot nicely to make sure we get the best possible launch heading down towards a very tricky turn 1 at the start of the race here. A lot of cars barreling downhill into that very high speed corner can cause some incidents, so we just got to be careful and be wary of that as we head down there and make sure not to make any silly mistakes or any silly bits of contact with anyone and possibly ruin our race before it's even started. But the lights are out and we are away for the Portuguese Grand Prix. It's actually a really nice launch. We outdo Lewis Hamilton, so we move to the right and it's going to be 3 wide between myself, Hamilton and Alonso as we head down towards turn 1, just about keeping away from Sainz's rear end there and stopping ourselves from breaking our front wing on his rear. And we actually dive it to the inside of the Ferrari. We've got Ocon diving it to our inside as well, so again 3 wide as we now go to the outside of Carlos Sainz through turn 4, and we do make it into P7, so we've made up 3 spots there on the race start. A very good start to the race for ourselves. Meanwhile, further back, the 2 Alpines racing away for each other for the 2 bottom point scoring positions. Lewis Hamilton dropping out of the points down into P11, so a horrible start there for the Mercedes. Up ahead, Sergio Perez trying to get ahead of Charles Leclerc, but unable to get the move done. And in terms of that little battle there between the Alpines, Ocon comes out ahead of Fernando Alonso, so a very frantic start there at the start of the Grand Prix, and as I said, Hamilton with an absolute shocker, probably the worst start out of everyone on the grid. Albon unfortunately also lost a couple of spots, starting on the medium tyres as you'd expect, but for ourselves, absolutely incredible to get up into P7 straight away off the start like that. And so as we head on to lap 3, we'll go through a little order check here. We've got Verstappen leading the way there for Red Bull, the current championship leader, looking to extend that gap. And then George Russell, who should have won last time out in Coda, but had that issue that eventually led to an engine blow up, so he didn't even finish the race in the end in P2. He's got Lando Norris, who finished in P2 last time out, sitting behind him, rounding out the podium positions, and Leclerc in P4 for Ferrari, trying to chase down Verstappen, obviously his championship rival, trying to hold on to his reigning world championship, ahead of Sergio Perez in P5, and then it's Ricciardo in P6, and the McLaren also doing well for himself there in that team, and then ourselves in P7 after that awesome start, ahead of Carlos Sainz, who has been really lacking this season and could be at risk of losing his seat heading into Season 3, ahead of Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso, who round out the top 10 for the two Alpines, ahead of then Lewis Hamilton, as we just said, still in P11, unable to get a move done on those Alpines. And then there's our teammate Albon down in P14, so hopefully as the race goes on and the softs start to wear out, he can maybe find himself gaining a couple spots. But as we head into turn 1 here on lap 7, defending from Carlos Sainz, because he got a little bit close, but he just doesn't quite have the pace to get the move done on us here. And so I've said it a few times, but Sainz has been really weird this season, where he's sometimes very occasionally looked to have the pace to absolutely destroy the field, but then most of the time he's just got absolutely nothing. He's completely lacking. Sure, he's on the mediums here, but he's getting outdone by Williams, you know, by ourselves here in a Williams, and then he's also now under attack from Esteban Ocon in the Alpine, in a car that, as we saw at the start, is a front-running car. It is a top-team car. And Sainz is just struggling. He's at the bottom end of the points here, just legitimately on pace. So as we now head to lap 9, he is going to have a look at us here. Obviously, the soft starting to wear out. It is the end of our stint. And so on those mediums, he is eventually able to get the move done on us. Although we're actually going to have a little look there to see if we can maybe get a move done into turn 3. But in the end, I decided to sit behind, because otherwise we'd just waste a whole bunch of time battling away with a Ferrari that is at the moment quicker than us. He makes a mistake through turn 4 though, and so now, after that mistake with DRS, we are going to have a little look for a move, because this move should get done a little bit easier, but Sainz very cleverly stopping it there right in the middle of the corner means we are unable to get the cutback done, and so we have to sit back in P8 there, and at the end of lap 9 we do come in for our what should be one and only pit stop of the race, should everything go right for us and we don't have to come in to fix any damage, or if there's a safety car or anything. This should be it from softs to hards. As I said, a very weird strategy compared to every other track in the game, but there you go, getting an optimal turning point, getting on to the hard compound tyres, not getting held up in the pit lane. Not many people pitting here on lap 9. A lot of cars do pit over the course of the next couple laps, though. We've just come in a little bit earlier, alongside Fernando Alonso and Yuki Tsunoda, and also one of the Alfa Romeos a bit further back. But this will give us the undercut, which will allow us to warm up our hard tyres a little bit, and so when everyone else comes out on cold tyres, we can hopefully try and get some moves done. But here is Albon, still get to pit on lap 11, retiring from the race with an engine issue, which is such a shame to see. The Mercedes engines seem to be a little bit unreliable in the latter part of this season. You can see, though, on lap 11 there, just about getting out ahead of Kevin Magnussen. Alonso also gets ahead, but he got held up a little bit, and so we're now riding behind Lewis Hamilton, who sure has made up time by doing an overcut, but he's on very cold tyres, so you can see easily getting ourselves alongside through turn 4 there. And as we head into turn 5 with the help of DRS as well, we get to the inside of the hairpin, get the move done quite easily, and we'll also have the warmer tyres to get the traction out of the corner, and leaving him absolutely no opportunity to try and get the move done on us, though. As we cut now to the end of lap 11, start of lap 12, we have closing in on Esteban Ocon, who's also on cold tyres. So as we head down towards turn 1, at the last second, we're going to take the opportunity to go to the inside there. He tries to hold the outside, which he actually does do through turn 2 there. He again tries to hold it. As we head through turn 3, though, he just doesn't quite have the tyre temp, so he locks up that tyre and ends up actually under attack from Lewis Hamilton there, as we get the move done into pit, what is now P10, until a couple other cars pit. But Ocon now under attack from the Mercedes. He does defend there into the hairpin, almost hits the back of our car though, which would have been a disaster for both of us. And as we now head to lap 15, he has got his tyres warmed up a little bit more, and so with the help of DRS, gets to our inside there through turns 1, 2 and 3. Are we able to hold it around the outside? We won't lock up though like he did, although he does just get the exit through that corner, as I was sort of pushed out a little bit wide, and I drop now down to P11. But with the help of DRS, can we maybe go for a move into the hairpin? I decided to stick back behind because we were just a little too far to go for a dive bomb, and so we're just going to wait patiently until the end of lap 15 here, where we'll close right up to the back of the Alpine with the help of DRS as well, using some battery and the slipstream, pulling to the outside of turn 1 here so we can maybe carry a bit more speed through the corner, but he actually just backs out of it as Gasly, exiting the pit lane there, gets right in the Alpine's way, and there's a massive shunt behind between Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton, and that is Fernando Alonso in the Alpine out of the race. The race winner from last time out in the USA is now out of the Portuguese Grand Prix, and a lot of cars getting banked up there. What a disaster that was. That was just because of the whole pit exit scenario there, and Hamilton looks like through turn 1 just runs wide completely on his own there, rejoins the track right in front of the Alpine, and that's quite a big incident there. Hamilton somehow able to continue on. As we look on the onboard from Fernando Alonso now, you can see he just in behind, he's got quite a bit of a gap here, and then all of a sudden Hamilton off track rejoins. Alonso, to be fair, could have seen that coming and maybe moved over to the right a little bit more, but that was more on Hamilton. Should have been more aware and left the room before rejoining the track. On board here with Kevin Magnussen now through turn 1 to watch this from an off-board perspective, and yeah, that's just such a shame there. Both cars pointing sideways at one point. Hamilton will have front wing damage that he has to pit for to repair, and that has caused a safety car, as you would expect, with the car stranded in the middle of a very blind, fast corner. Very smart decision there from the FIA to call out that safety car. So we'll look at an order check here on lap 18. Verstappen still leading the way. Very dominant race from him so far here in Portugal, ahead of George Russell, still sitting in P3, looking to get redemption for his retirement last time out in the USA, ahead of Lando Norris, looking to get himself yet another podium position. A very, very impressive season so far from Lando in that McLaren. He's ahead of Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari in the championship hunt, trying to chase down Verstappen, but it's not looking to be the case for that Ferrari this time out, with Verstappen absolutely destroying the whole field so far. And then it's Perez in 5th, ahead of Ricciardo in the 2nd McLaren in P6, Sainz in P7 at the moment, just ahead of ourselves in P8, and then Pierre Gasly in P9 was able to slot in between myself and Esteban Ocon in P10, who rounds out the points paying positions. So yeah, it's very interesting to see the field as it is, with Lando being so high up, Ricciardo also up there but not quite as good as Lando this season. Sainz in a decent position in P7, but as I said, in a top team car, he should be up there challenging for wins instead of being in the bottom half of the point scoring positions. And here's Lewis Hamilton right down in P17 on a fresh set of medium tyres though. Could be very, very lethal in the second half of this Grand Prix if he's able to make use of those fresh tyres and make some moves. But here we are now at the end of lap 18, getting ready for the safety car restart, and we floor it very early there. We actually have to get back out of it, and then we get back into it again until we're alongside the Ferrari by the time we're even at the start-finish line. And so as we head down towards turn 1, trying to get a bit of slipstream off Ricciardo, but Sainz has more of it. We're going to try and brake as late as possible through turn 1 without running into the side of the Ferrari. That allows Sainz to get back ahead, but into turn 3, he brakes very early. I almost actually run up into the back of Daniel Ricciardo as the whole field sort of bunched up. And so that's us back into P7 like we were at the very start of the race. And we've also now had the run out of turn 4 on the McLaren. So we're going to look to the outside there as Ricciardo goes defensive at the hairpin. And can we get the run out of the corner? Yes, we do. And so that's us into P6. So a very, very good restart here under safety car. Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton has just made a crazy dive at the hairpin to go straight from P17, battling away with Sebastian Vettel now for P13 here. The 4-time champion, unfortunately, just in that Aston Martin, as I said, has sort of become a bit of a backmarker now in this season, which is such a shame to see there for the man that is retiring at the end of the season. It would have been nice to send him off in a positive way in a good car, but that's just not the way it's played out for us here in this cruise. We now head on to lap 20. Carlos Sainz looking to make a move on Daniel Ricciardo into turn 1. Does he get the move done? They're going to go side by side through turns 1 and 2. Ricciardo gets back ahead, actually. I thought they were going to be a bit more side by side in turn 3, but Ricciardo gets completely ahead of the Ferrari there. And so now on to lap 21, Sainz will have to try again, but unfortunately, he's actually lost a bit of time. So it's Gasly going to the inside of the Ferrari, and is he going to get the move done? Yes, he does. Through turn 2, Sainz tries to keep it there. Actually, he's going to have his nose around the outside of turn 3, inside for turn 4, but that outside line is normally better, but Gasly actually backs out of it. So Sainz, very luckily for himself, they're holding on to that position from the AlphaTauri. The AlphaTauri is one of the bottom teams in the field. And so, as I've said plenty of times, I'm not too sure what's going on with Sainz this season. His form is just all over the place. And at the moment, he is where he has been for most of the season, just right down the bottom, under attack now. Gasly damages his front wing there on Carlos Sainz, but even with that, he gets himself ahead of the Ferrari, really highlighting how bad of a race Sainz is having here. Sainz trying to keep his nose in there, and in the end will get it done because Gasly just has such a loss of downforce. But for the AlphaTauri to have been able to hold on that long against the Ferrari is both a testament to Gasly's driving, but also a very big highlight of how poor Sainz's race is. And Gasly obviously is going to have to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap to change that front wing, because you can just visually see how much time he is losing through the corners with that missing area. But through the final sweep, but Ocon, I don't know what he was doing, runs into the back of the AlphaTauri, and so it was now damaged his own front wing. Gasly into the pit lane. Ocon's actually continued on, so maybe he didn't realise that he's damaged that front wing, but he's definitely going to have to come into the pits, because he's going to lose so much time around this track with such fast sweeping corners without that front wing. You can see immediately that coming into effect with the Guanyu Zhou getting the move done down the inside of turn 1. Ocon tries to hold on, but doesn't have the aero for it. And so Zhou doing very well there in the Alfa Romeo now to be up into P9. The Alphas have been really struggling this season, and so that is a very, very good spot for the Chinese driver to be in, as the Schumacher it is, trying to attack Lewis Hamilton. Sebastian Vettel, into the hairpin, unable to get the move done on his German friend. As we now cut to the end of lap 22, Ocon does come into the pit lane there, which is such a shame to see. Ocon, I really thought might be on form and really challenging for some good positions for the rest of this season after his awesome win in Monza, as we now get attacked by Daniel Ricciardo into turn 3. I'm going to try and hold it to the inside of turn 4, though, but Ricciardo leaving absolutely no room, squeezes onto the grass and the curb there on turn 4, and so Ricciardo really playing for keeps here. I thought we were going to be a little bit cleaner than that and leave each other a bit of room, but Ricciardo absolutely having none of it. And so as we now head on to lap 27, we're going to absolutely fly past the McLaren here, not even using battery at the moment. We're going to use a little bit maybe heading down towards turn 1, but just with some slipstream and DRS, we get the move done there through turn 1. Ricciardo holding it to the outside of turn 2. He'll also try and hold it through turn 3, but maybe through the apex here we're able to get ourselves further up. Ricciardo will go down the inside. We'll afford him a little bit more respect than he gave to us, as we leave him some room on the inside there, but in the end we do get the move done quite easily into P6 on lap 27. As we now head on to lap 29, Ricciardo will come back at us though as we head down towards turn 1. I'd try and go a little bit defensive just to put him off, but he goes to the inside anyway, so I move back to the racing line. Ricciardo goes wide, almost spins the car right in front of us. You can see I had to really quickly react and swerve to the right to make sure I left him some room, and that does lead us back into P6 now, ahead of the McLaren, who have the DRS on us, but not quite able to get the move done here. But on lap 33, the last lap of the race, this is literally just started now. These are the first drops of rain coming down halfway through the last lap of the Grand Prix. And as we've already seen a few times this season, as soon as this sort of scenario happens, the AI is just unbelievably overpowered. And as we head into the triple right-hander, I've just got no grip, complete understeer, can't even get the power down as Ricciardo completely flies past us there, gets the move done. I almost run wide there off the curb there and just completely locking out. I've got no grip. The DRS is disabled right at the end of the race. Not even really a point of that, but it is disabled either way. And look how much understeer we have. Not a hope of getting P6 back. So unfortunate, so unlucky to lose that position right at the end of the race. And you can see having to back out now through what is normally a flat corner, and Sainz all over the back of us. So lucky there isn't another lap. But in the end, it's going to be a pretty good P7 here in Portugal.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
They take the checkered flag here then in Portimao in what has been another outstanding Grand Prix. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out of the track was: speed. It sounds like an awfully reductive statement, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently, and it's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be so proud of the victory they've secured here.
So here we are with the results for the Portuguese Grand Prix. Max Verstappen taking the win and fastest laps to take maximum points away from the weekend ahead of George Russell in second. Lando Norris doing very well there in the McLaren to finish P3, ahead of Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari in P4, Sergio Perez in P5, Ricciardo P6 after getting the position off of us right at the death of the race there, and then it's ourselves in P7, ahead of Sainz, who had such a shocker of a race to finish right down in P8, only getting himself and Ferrari 4 points, and then Zhou doing very well for himself in P9, and Magnussen rounding out the points there for Haas. Lewis Hamilton, in the end, he made a good comeback from that safety car restart and that damage that he had to get, and in the end, it wasn't enough for him to get points, finishing P11, just missing out there on the top 10. In terms of the driver standings, Verstappen extends his lead now to 20 points over Charles Leclerc in second. Sainz still in P3 for now, but only 8 points ahead of Lando Norris. So just showcasing there how good of a season Lando has had to be in P4 right behind a Ferrari, potentially to be able to get himself into P3 in the championship. Very, very good for himself. So meanwhile, we stay in P10. In terms of the constructors, we also stay in P6 now on 50 points, 30 points ahead of AlphaTauri, and then quite away, 37 points off of Alpine. So I'd say it's going to be quite a mission to get either of those positions, to be honest. Ferrari only now 3 points ahead of Red Bull, and so with another couple weekends like this weekend, it looks like Red Bull could very well sweep through right at the last minute in this championship to take that championship away from Ferrari. But that is all for this video, guys. We are in Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix next. If you guys did enjoy this one, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this in the future, and I'll see you all there. Goodbye.